All right, plenty to get through. Joining me now, journalist at the Daily Telegraph, James Willis, and media commentator, Carolee Katsimbardas. Welcome to you both. Assessments today of the New Look opposition shadow ministry coming thick and fast. Much of it surrounds the fact that there are now fewer women on the opposition frontbench, certainly in shadow cabinet, with a particular emphasis on well-performing Conservative women being demoted or dumped altogether. This point today was put to Susan Lee.
Look, I don't want to reflect on individuals and individual appointments, except to say everyone remains important, and the women that you've mentioned are talented and will continue to contribute incredibly well. 40% of the new shadow ministry that I announced is women. Of course, Pete, I want to see more women come into our party, and I was able to announce women who are younger in terms of their political career, and I know that they're going to do very well too.
Now, Carolee, Sarah Henderson issued a statement yesterday. She said she was disappointed. I spoke here last night to Jacinta Nampijinpa Price. She was disappointed. She's been demoted. Claire Chandler, she's been dumped. I mean, no one can accuse these women of lacking in performance or capacity. And I reckon, you know, the fact that they're all Conservative women, it feels like they have been targeted. I might add too that these women who have been dropped have been replaced by women that aren't even elected yet in the parliament.
Peter, that's a great point. The other point to make is, thank God there is a coalition again, but the problem is these women, Claire Chandler, Jacinta and also Jane Hume, they are women that have been in the trenches for the last 3 years. I mean, no one, without Jacinta Price, you know, she single-handedly achieved, helped to achieve the no vote as well. There seems to be a lot of manoeuvring behind the scenes, and my worry is that one could say, well, you get what you get, but you don't get upset. But the problem is, if you are one of those three women, it's no point Susan Lee saying, oh, look, you know, they'll continue to contribute and I want more women to come in. You've got three great women there. And yes, some mistakes were made by Jane Hume and others, but it's a Conservative party. As you often say, you can't be Labor light. These are three women that have proven themselves as great performers. And I just think that, yeah, you're completely right. I think they have been targeted as Conservative women. However, the task is now, the next 3 years, we've got to get to the next election and hopefully present a united front and be the alternative government that the Australian public votes for.
Yeah, look, and I'll make a point about Jane Hume too. She wasn't the only one who supported the work-from-home policy. I mean, Susan Lee was the deputy leader. It would have crossed her desk. Angus Taylor, who stays in the shadow cabinet, it would have crossed his desk. I think there's a bit of cherry-picking of blame there going on. Now, she's not a Conservative. She's a moderate, but I don't think she should be on the back bench. There are some moderates, of course, who do warrant promotion. There's some impressive CVs in a number of those people, but there's also some factional hacks too who I would regard as having very little ministerial merit. Alex Hawke's a good example here. I mean, he's been parachuted right into cabinet. The place is going to leak like a sieve. I tell you what, I don't know that I'd be happy about that. There are some other good ones, though. I do concede that. I just think this has been, James Willis, the cabinet you have or the cabinet you create where you're basically making more enemies than friends. And that was a hallmark of sort of the Turnbull era. We don't want to go back to that. And we know Peter Dutton was able to put moderates and Conservatives there and hold the show together. I think more than ever that's the job of Susan Lee, and to rebuild, listen and rebuild.
Well, good evening to you, Peter. And I think in the lead up to the leadership contest between Angus Taylor and Susan Lee, we were assured by some of the people that you had shown on the screen that there were no deals, no promises, and there were no rewards for getting behind Susan Lee. I think you're right. I think there are some people that have been rewarded based on which faction they are in the Liberal Party and indeed who they supported to get Susan Lee over the line by a handful of votes. On the women that you've just identified, Sarah Henderson, Jane Hume and also Claire Chandler, I think they were three of the great performers in terms of cut through with the media. They did a lot of media in that first term of the Albanese government. They've got a very good public profile, and I think they've got good relationships with a lot of media outlets, and I think that does count for something. So to not reward that and identify that is a mistake in my view. The other issue we've got in New South Wales is, of course, the Liberal Party is such a rabble here. We've got administrators, three very respected senior Liberals that are effectively running the party. But as the days go on. The moderates in particular and some of the senior New South Wales Liberals want them gone, want the power to come back, want the the executive to come back into place. And I'm not convinced that's still a good idea. I think the last couple of years has been such a rabble that we'd be better off keeping a few senior heads in for now and seeing how things play out, because we're far from good at this point in time.
Yeah, the people you speak about there, two former Federal Party presidents, Alan Stockdale and Richard Alston in particular, both of them are redrafting the Constitution in New South Wales. That's what they were asked to do, prepare the party for the federal election and also redraft the Constitution. And James, they want to put more power back in the hands of the rank and file, the factional warlords on the right and the left. They don't want that. So they don't want this federal intervention extended beyond the expiry date of June. A lot of members want it extended. A lot of factional bother boys do not. So this will be a showdown very shortly, won't it?
Yeah, that's right. And we've identified that there's been issues with pre-selections, and Susan Lee, I might add, had this issue before the last election or the one before that, I think. Alex Hawke, we know that Scott Morrison took control of all the pre-selections prior to the 2022 campaign. We've also had issues, Peter, as you know, with councils. Local councils have not a single Liberal, even previous Liberals that were just seeking re-election, all got wiped out because the Liberal Party in New South Wales couldn't get their paperwork in on time. And on top of that, you've had issues with branch stacking. That is ongoing. We're hearing stories about all the time. We've brought you a few about Angus Taylor and a takeover by staff in Alex Hawke's office that's been unfolding. So they're a long way from being, trusted to have their house in order. And I think for the time being, we'd be better off in those safe hands, redraft that Constitution and figure things out. But mind you, there aren't many New South Wales Liberals left in the federal parliament, as we know.